Welcome everybody to this edition of Strong Perspective Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Keith Armstrong, along with both my other hosts, Jaquari Armstrong, who's with us today, and Damon. He'll be back soon. Welcome to the podcast tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This podcast is for everyday people. We talk about everything that comes along, but that impacts our lives, and we give our perspective. Our guests give their perspectives when they come on also. So, join us as we go on our journey, and let's make it happen. Jaquari, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Recovering from celebrating your birthday last night, man. Happy birthday. This
Appreciate
is
it.
yeah. This what is this? Your Cajillion's birthday. Your Cajillion's birthday. Good to come down here and check you out for your birthday, man. We didn't do too much, but like I said, you are getting on in years, so hey, what are you gonna do?
Of course, yeah. Moderation. We got to approach it with moderation, sir. You know what I mean?
The one time, and I used to have it. This is the one time I used to have it calculated, but we were all, me, you, and Damon, we were all in the same number of decades.
That's
we're
true.
All in our 50s now. We're all.
That's definitely true, man. I always appreciate you coming down for the birthday, man. Making that 2-hour trek down. Even if we just sit around and don't do anything, it's definitely appreciated. You know what I'm saying? My birthday, I used to give myself a birthday party, and I did it because I wanted to have an excuse for celebration. I wasn't celebrating myself. I just wanted to have an excuse to celebrate. I grew up with, Jaquari, we grew up where we had a lot of family gatherings and parties and stuff like that. And back when I first turned 50, I wanted to start to imitate that. What'd you say?
I was gonna say, but we really have a lot for us, man. I mean,
that's true.
That's true. My one and only birthday party that I had that everybody came to, that I was more than taken aback, man. But my 28th birthday in 2001 was the year that I moved to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody came. Elks, man, that was a special time for me, man. That was crazy. I was like, damn.
It was a mess.
I had no expectations, man, but.
Yeah, but this has been let me just say this. This has been a very eventful week and a half for me. You know what I mean? Was a little under the weather, you know what I mean? And just certain things occurred that had me step out of my comfort zone. But what I realized is I stepped out of my comfort zone willingly. I wasn't forced out of it. So it ended up being an ego thing for me. And that's what I realized, and I told you that. And, and I'm not going to go into what it was, but that's kind of what I want to talk about real quick. I'm 59. Look like I'm 35. But I take my age seriously. I don't hide from it, but I also don't overinflate it as being important. I feel blessed to be here. You know what I mean? But the one thing that I take away from it is being able to be around people and tolerate certain things, right? Because contrary to everybody's belief, popular belief that, when somebody's irritating to you, where you don't agree with their stance on something and they're pressing the issue and all that, your comfort zone is not a right. The one thing you can do is walk away. But your comfort zone is not a right. So when you realize your comfort zone is not a right and you have the option to walk away and you don't, in my opinion, you want to win. You want to win that particular situation, whether you're bickering or you're arguing, and it drains you when you have to do that, you know. And I was faced with that because I do not believe in arguing with people anymore. So when I do, on the rare occasion nowadays, argue with somebody, it takes me a while to recover from it. Not because that person won, not because that person was right and I was wrong, or I was right and they were wrong. I recover from it because I don't like wasting my time. I'll give you my view. I'll give you the view of what I'm talking about, my point of view, what's going on. I'll give that to you. Then I'll receive yours. Now, once we both understand where each other's coming from, I'm good with it. Even if I still don't agree with what you're talking about, I'm good with it. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? So in a nutshell, always take yourself seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. If I was to give you some advice, that'd be it. Because if you take yourself too seriously, you'll never be satisfied when you're exchanging with people, right? Whether it's a positive exchange or negative exchange, you'll never be satisfied if you take yourself too seriously, right? But if you don't take yourself serious enough, when you reflect back on the conversation or the confrontation or whatever exchange that was did, right? Now you're losing, you're adding anxiety because you're like, damn, I wish I would have, blah, blah. So you got to go a fine line right down the middle as much as you can. Then you can live with it. So that's just my 2 cents.
I find myself when I'm having a disagreement with somebody, man. I will seemingly like back off and back down or whatever, man. But I only need a couple of seconds, man, to understand that whatever I say to this person is not going to change their opinion, delivery, or disposition at this point in time. You know what I mean? Can you imagine all the good advice, all the sage advice you've given people over the years, and they totally ignored it? But when they heard the same exact shit from somebody else, it was gold, absolute gold. Now, I mean, consider your own survival, man. Consider your own mental health, man. How do you, know? Well, how do you deal with that situation when like I just told this motherfucker the same thing last week?
I see what you're saying.
And that person didn't receive it from me. Do you take that personally? No, I don't.
Somebody just checked in. I'm assuming they're in Israel. So have you guys ever been to Israel? No, sir. I haven't been.
It's actually a bucket list destination for me.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Put me one of them trees out there and shit and all that.
Yeah. I get it. See, that's what we want. We want a little more of that, people. You know what I'm saying? If you're strangers to the show, you want to ask us questions, ask us questions. If you're familiar with the show and you want, I mean, we even take comedy. You know what I'm saying? We even take whatever. Just check in with us tonight. This is a check-in show. tonight.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
You know, so Jaquari, as far as taking on responsibility of being a good friend, a good community leader, a good, and I'm not going to say a husband or father or anything like that, because I'm going to go off assumption that's what you are anyway. But the things outside of the house, how important do you think that is for men to be?
It's very important, man. But I mean, as men, we need to define those relationships, man. I mean, you got to break them down. Like, you know, friendships, associations, and everything like that. You know, are different between men than they are with, you know, men and, you know, and women and women and women. You know, I've had friends who, because, you know, sometimes, you know, over the years, man, I just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I just disappear, and I have friends that, you know, back when I was living in Ipsy, man, shit, I was with them every day. But, you know, I haven't spoken to them in a while, you know, and we haven't had a falling out or anything like that, man. You know, but distance in life will create those scenarios, man, where you just don't have the time or opportunity to check in. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's right at all, man. But, you know, I think uh, the relationships I was able to develop with men, my close friends over the years, man, you know, considering the distance, when we get together, it's like, you know, we never missed a beat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's one of the core one of the core points of black male friendship. You know what I mean? Because I don't have a lot of friends in Virginia. You know, people who I really consider friends.
Yeah.
Not because, you know, I don't like the brand of brother that they got in Virginia. That's not the case at all, man. You know, I'm just in my older age. I'm just not the reach out type. You know,
Awesome.
you are the reach out type.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's and I have had those instances, man, where, you know, people who I had like really close associations with, you know, in my younger years or whatever, you know, basically cast me to the side because of my attitude, you know, like, yeah, we don't talk or whatever, but when we see each other, you know, it's you know, we're brothers again, and they don't operate like that, and, you know, I can't take that personally, man.
I see. I see. I think what it is a blessing and curse for me, because the one thing that I always understood is, and it's not realistic, but I always owe somebody a listening ear. And I'm talking about everybody that I meet. If I have time and they have something to say, I'll listen to them. You know what I mean? Not because, and not to take this wrong, that they're special. Some of them are special. But the fact is, when I need, if I think about it, if I need somebody, which is rare, but if I need somebody to open up to, I would want them to treat them the way that I treat others.
Mm-hmm.
So I hold myself up to that same standard. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's charity, man. I mean, in a sense, it's charity,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're dealing with our community, man, you know, as religious as we are in some households, you know, we always knew that Jesus was coming back, right?
Yeah.
What, what if you seen him already? What if you met him already? What if Jesus was at the store and asked you for a couple of dollars so they could get something to eat?
Yeah.
How did you interact with him?
Yeah. No doubt.
So,
I know. I think we kind of got that from our parents, because I know I have plenty of examples of our mom and our dad having conversations with strangers. I've seen them cuss them out before too, but also it was more pleasant conversations. I've seen that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I used to think to myself, would I be that kind of person? You feel what I mean? Like them, where, and as I got older, Because when I was younger and I went to a strange place, I was reserved and quiet.
Mhm.
So people thought I was quiet. No, it's the simple fact that I observed more than anything and understood where I fit in at. You know what I mean? Because I never went chasing friendships. Because that shit make me break out in hives. If I feel like I'm chasing you to be my friend, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And I want to be a part of the crowd. I told you that. I always tell you that, Jaquar. I want to be a part of the crowd. Always did. But to me, God always made it that either the timing was off, right? Either the timing was off or the group did or said something that I did not want to mess with. I did not want to mess around with, or they excluded me. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't exciting enough. You know, I knew it when they didn't like me, but see, you know, people hang out with other people who excite them. You know what I'm saying? But then when I got older, I became somebody who people wanted to be around. And mostly not because I talked and was entertaining, it's because I showed up. I could be, you know, and that's the thing. I didn't do it on purpose. It was just the kind of person I was raised to be. I could be counted on, you know. So that's how I see it. And this is not a big promotion of me. Oh, it's amazing how I don't take myself that serious because I'm kind to people because I want to be kind to them.
Yeah, it makes me feel good, man.
Yeah.
It's a totally selfish reason, but it makes me feel.
Yeah. I
I'm
know it would. Go ahead.
gonna tell you what, man. You know, I find it personally offensive, man, to have to constantly audition for a motherfucker's friendship because I
I can relate.
have not changed, man. I have
Mm-hmm.
not changed. From the first time you met me, I'm the same dude. I don't care how many years it is later. I'm the same guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I've evolved in many different ways, but it's in regards to my interactions, my peaceful interactions with people, yeah, I'm inviting. You know, I try to be, you know, cordial and everything. And this is who you get. And you know, if you're around me for a period of time, you see who I am. I don't give you everything.
Yeah.
You know, in the first couple of meetings or whatever, because I can't.
Gotcha.
It's
I
not like I purposely hold things back. No, I mean I've got to I got to be comfortable around you. You know, there's some people I've known for years that don't even know that I drink or swear.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think, and that's the thing about it is like I'm able to be a bowling ball in a room full of porcelain dishes. You know what I'm saying? Where I can be completely still and not break a plate, but then I can start rolling and shatter everything in sight, right? But the majority of the time, people see me sitting still. I do that on purpose. It's not about, you know, a personality flaw or anything like that. It's the thing about it is I've always been John and Margie's Armstrong prototype for a problem solver. I have to solve problems, mostly because of the turmoil that our family had to face as I was growing up and being the oldest and with the most responsibility. And there ain't no slight on you, Jaquari or Damon, because it's not about who had to go through what. I don't care about that. I think I became a person to solve problems because I didn't want to let our parents down. And I feel better and feel good about the world when a problem can be solved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes to arguments, when it comes to conflict, physical or whatever, spiritual, fuck it. Really? Well, you can come to you don't, a lot of times with them things, you don't come to solutions. What you do is come to resolutions. That's my goal, because that's what keeps me sane. If I went to solve it, I'll become judgmental. I'll point fingers.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to start doing that. Now, I'll fucking tell you what your flaws is if you get on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what it is? You ever, the people with the most charisma, and this is my own personal point of view. This is not an indictment on people who have charisma. But the people that I know with the most charisma, right,
Mm-hmm.
can be one of some of the, can be assholes.
And just more,
And don't care.
more crippled, yeah. But that's, I mean, but you can attribute that to the charisma. I mean, because a charismatic motherfucker, really don't got to work that hard.
Yeah.
After a period of time, they get bored with shit.
You know, what do you do? You know, a couple guys I know, females too. You told me no. Why? Even though you know why I'm telling you no.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to ask why, because in your mind, I'm supposed to go for everything that you present to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm gonna open up and give you my statement when it comes to that. This is raw, uncut. People need to understand one thing when you're dealing with me. Henny, this is for you. What you eat don't make me shit, right? This ain't directed to you, Henny. This is last week when you were saying you don't give a fuck. And I was trying to get you to open up to why you say you don't give a fuck. Because I was agreeing, and I have my reasons for saying that or taking that stance. What you eat don't make me shit is a very simple term, and it's powerful. So when you're around people, understand if I'm listening to you, it doesn't mean that I agree with you. I was trained to be that way, and you look at me as if you need to get it off your chest. I'm going to let you get it off your chest. But when you're done, I'm going to tell you, because I earned it, whether I agree with you or not. Because I'm listening to you. Now, if you get pissed off about it, it don't matter to me. Because I gave you the courtesy to what? Listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Now, you called yourself a problem solver, man. I think my superpower is the fact that I listen to you, man. Outright. And usually, when you're done talking, when you've released everything, unless you ask me, I won't even put a judgment on it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always believed, the greatest respect you can give a person is a listening ear.
That's real. Because that's actually your time. That time belongs to you.
And I said it 1,000 times on this platform, man. Sometimes you don't, you have a problem, and you going to somebody to help, to seek resolution or solution or whatever, man. If they just let you talk and lay that problem out, you might solve it yourself.
A lot of times you do. You know what I mean? Because I tell you, when I was younger, I had to add my 2 cents in. Then I started to discover I don't really need to do it if this person has talked for a very long period of time. And if you're actually listening, they are solving their own problem. They may not agree with it, but if you're talking to me about something that a guy you got a relationship with, and the majority of it is you talking about cutting them off and not fucking with them anymore, you're actually solving your own problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say, hey, you sound to me like you don't want to fuck with him anymore. You know what I would ask? I would ask, hey, how would you feel if y'all didn't have any more contact?
Mm-hmm.
Because once they answer that question in that particular, like, that energy right there, it'll let them know if they really want to keep messing with this person.
Exactly. What are the benefits for you to further your associations with this person?
What are the benefits?
Yeah. On both,
You know?
for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to put an unselfish face on it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna tell you. Last week I brought it up. Last week with Mr. Henson on that. Mr. Henson is a different guy.
Mr. Henny.
And Henny, prior to us going live, did some things that put me on 10. You feel what I'm saying?
Tell him.
He didn't do nothing wrong. He didn't do nothing wrong. And as a matter of fact, if you watch the show, he's in a white beater and some drawers. You feel me?
Afro wig.
And look, and he had plenty of time to put some pants on, but he didn't. But we didn't really have a problem with that, did we, Jaquar?
No.
As long as he was being authentic. But the thing that I can honestly say, because I had to watch the show 3 times and I never watch our shows, right? The third time I realized that I talked too much because I was trying to put out fires that wasn't actually coming. You feel what I'm saying? So when he started speaking and he was making a point, I would cut him off. See, I don't like doing that. And that wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that I was under some spell. No. My point is the fact that I'm going to let y'all know something, it was kind of funny, but this is what took me aback. We always come on a half an hour before the show, right? And when Henny came on, Henny was on the toilet. And for the life of me, I don't know why in the holy fuck, when you know it's 2 men coming on, that you'll hop on the toilet, right? So I put it off as him just being eccentric. I don't know him. You know, that's Jaquari's friend, and you know, it was unexpected, right? So we like, yo, I'm asking, hey man, Henny, what's going on? Yo, he's laying down his grave because he wasn't able to come to our Thursday session where we all hatch everything out. I said, yo, man, why would you come on and you in your underwear? Nah, man, I really had to go. This is real shit, right? So
he was taking a real shit, everybody. He wiped his ass and washed his hands.
Now he didn't show us.
Yeah.
But it was beside the toilet, straight up to the ceiling. But we could tell that's where he was. So he wasn't no exhibitionist. So I want to get that straight. Now, I can handle that because I was in law for, first of all, I grew up a black man in Michigan, Southeast Michigan. So you pretty much see a whole lot of shit, right? So I wasn't really taken aback by it. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude, right? And I even said something to him. And, Jaquari said, man, what are you doing? But all 3 of us laughed about it, right? So this is when, and this is why I say my problem, I thought it was a good show last week. And he said some good things, but I kept trying to put fires out because it was a quarter after, and we was going to go on in 15 minutes. And I mentioned that to those guys, like, hey, man, we got 15 minutes left before we go live. And Henny said, oh, we not live? Oh, man. Now, a big-ass alarm went off in my head, like, oh, so you was going to come on to our shit taking the shit. And it hit me. I was like, man, what the fuck, right? But then he was, look, basically like this. You and I could handle the shit. You know what I mean? We can handle it. And which we did. We handled the show and we was cool, right? But it was, as we were speaking, as we were doing our little interviews, me personally, it started sinking in like, yo, this dude was trying to go live on that kind of situation.
Shit.
And I was getting mad. So I'm saying that to say, if you guys saw me cutting them off, going back and forth, all that, unwarrantedly, which the majority of it was, some of that shit I had to get in this shit about. But really, the majority of it was I had to be careful now because this is our shit that we like. This is our shit that we like to do. This is our podcast. This is Strong Perspective Podcast. So I wasn't gonna let him embarrass it, right? But what I should have done, and this is a lesson learned, and then I'm gonna leave it alone. What I should have done, guys out there, you're gonna see it presently and in the future. What I should have done was be quiet and go as business as usual. But my pride got in the way. You know what I mean? And now that bravado, that shit now, that shit that I have control over, but it started leaking out. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it didn't go really wild was because I just met him. You know what I mean? And we asked him to come on to the show. You feel me?
Conversations.
I just wanted to say that, Jaquan.
Yeah, the conversations I had with him, you know, I take partial, responsibility for it because I told him, which is one of the premises of the show. I mean, you come on show, and and be yourself, man, and and act a fool, and because that's his personality, man. He's a funny dude, and Tuesday when I seen him, because that was his first work day. It was Tuesday. The first question I asked him was, did you watch it? He said, yeah, I watched it. I said, well, how did you feel? He felt good about it. He felt good about it, and that was one of the things that I told him, that was probably going to happen, because before the show even came on, I had I had a discussion with Keith. I'm like, well, he's either going to absolutely love it, or he's gonna watch it back and he's gonna be like, damn, Sean, why you let me do that? He loved it. Not only did he love it, but people who've also seen that episode or whatever, they said, it brought, he brought something. So hey, as long as he felt good about it, which was one of the promises that I made when I asked him to come on and share the space with us, it was fulfilled.
Yeah.
So hey,
yeah.
It is what.
I think like I said, I think he did well. You know what I mean? It was nothing, because like I said, I had to watch it 3 times. It was nothing that he did. He said tried to joke about some stuff that landed flat, in my opinion. Maybe not to anybody else, because my wife watched it with me. Kia watched it with me, right? And Kia was laughing at stuff that I didn't think was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I didn't think it was funny because of the toilet incident, because it took a minute for me to get over that. Because I thought that was, and really, I thought it was disrespectful, right? Now, Henny, if you see this, I'm not criticizing you. What I'm doing is indirectly apologizing that I shouldn't have cut you off as much as I did. I should have gave you exactly the same thing that we gave all our other guests a chance to speak your mind. But that first part of the very first time I ever met you threw me the fuck off. Like, what kind of man is on the toilet with two other men? And as the episode was going further and further, that's what started bothering me. So that's why I have to apologize to him, because he did it. He really did. He did a good job being a character. Kid, do she know she? Cause hey, Jaquari, does kid know that she all on the camera? Look, ladies and gentlemen, my wife want to come on, but she's been denying it since we've been coming on. But every once in a while, she want to show her face.
But my overall opinion about it, man, was it was rough. It was rough. Earlier before we got on, you said the amount of times I turned my bottle up. That was me dealing with it. That was me dealing with it. I mean, because
that was hilarious.
Yeah, we had previous shows where people had kind of got up a little bit, but not to that level. So I was like, damn, just stay center spoke and keep doing what you're doing, because in this space, social media, the podcast world, anything is fucking subject to happen, man.
Yeah.
Anything is subject to happen.
I think that everybody, other than me over talking, everybody did a good job. I'm gonna tell you, but you did get White Hennessy mad though, which is hilarious. I was like, I'm looking at you. I said, you quite done turned this thing up like 3 or 4 times.
I started with the cap. I started drinking out the cap, but I was like, shit, that's
not enough.
I got to burn, just to help me navigate this shit. But, I mean, yeah, I think it was good. He just muted me, man. He just muted himself and everything, man. I'm on an island now.
I know, yeah. I expect you to keep going. And y'all was talking to Carson. He can ready to go to the football game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely wanted to see. I like to own up. I have not always been this way. I like to own up to the things that I feel as though I was short with, and that was it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? What's so funny about it is, well, let me say this. I want to congratulate my ex-teammate, my former teammate from the Pitt Panthers, Clive Vaughn, for going into the Pitt Hall of Fame for basketball. Well-deserved, brother. We had you on the show maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, and we talked about it. And after that show, I went on a crusade. I called everybody that I could call, like, yo, why hasn't this happened? And then I finally got in touch with the right person, and they said, hey, man, it is new, and we're getting around everybody, and he's going to get the call. I was good from there. But like I said, Clyde, congratulations, brother. You're a great captain. You know what I mean? And a good human being. Good human being.
Thanks.
All right, hey, hold on for a second, Jaquari. Entertain us.
All right. I tell you what, I'm gonna read something that I've been recently writing. You know, I like to consider myself a fledgling writer. But let me see, where is it? Okay. It's called Cockeyed Bully. Okay, I used to have a cockeyed bully. Every time I tried to be brave and look him in the eye, I get all dizzy and shit because I didn't know which way to go. He thought I was scared of him because I'd be swaying from left to right and shit. But I was just trying to, get a bead on the motherfucker. Trying to see exactly what he was looking at. Wasn't nothing worse than trying to figure out exactly who this headache having, ill tempered, goon ass bastard was talking to. Motherfuckers on either side of him would be terrified. He was cockeyed, but he had the coolest walk. He had the coolest walk. What he would do is he would point his head to the right, and he would point the rest of his body to the left, and I guess he would just like steer right down the middle, right? But it didn't work because he was always, like bumping into shit. He was left-handed, so he was bumping into shit, on the left side, because he favored it or whatever. He'd get mad and start fights and shit because motherfuckers stepped on his shoes. You was the one who was drifting, so how's this my fault? But come on, Coop. Uh, his name was Percy, but everybody called him Sniper because he looked like he was always trying to aim and shit. You know, but that when he did that, he was just trying to concentrate on shit. Because he was cockeyed. And, I guess he thought cockeyed too, and closing that eye, that gave him a little bit of balance. But yeah, that was it. You back? You back now?
I'm back, brother.
Okay. All
Hey, look, now that we sitting there chopping it up and shit, that was good, Spoke. That was really good. Very descriptive. You know what I mean? Make somebody want to hear some more. You know what I'm saying?
right.
That kind of remind me of a situation with my dad, right? For some reason, we were sitting in our living room on a Sunday. For some reason, we was talking about somebody, particular person stuttering, right? And my dad was like on that person's side, but what he did was give a little story, a little parable on the whole situation. So my dad is from Mississippi, Columbia, Mississippi. Love y'all family down there. If y'all happen to see this, love y'all down there. We're going to get down there soon. But he said he had a cousin who stuttered very badly, right? And he said one day, son, I was being a jackass. But because Uncle Will had us out there moving wood and all that. So we hot and all this, and cuz started talking and he got stuck. He got stuck between a syllable. And I'm not gonna mock how somebody stutter, but you know how somebody gets stuck and that kind of thing, right? He said my dad looked at him. He looked at him, he said, so and so, if you can't say it, sing it. And they used to call my dad John. His name was John Edward Armstrong, but his family down in Mississippi called him for short. John Ebert. He said, cuz looked at him and said, John Ebert. As a matter of fact, fuck you. He said, son, that tickled me so badly. He said, I never mess with him again about that stuttering. He said, because it flowed right out. He said, if you look. So I think I brought that up to say that, my parents were some serious people, but they also had great senses of humor. Great senses of humor, man. There's been times we've been sitting around and my mother was blunt with her sense of humor. My dad was more or less, he would be clever. He would, and also, straight up Southern man, he'll speak on plain English with it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel grateful to be able to have grown up around that and not take myself so seriously. Because the thing about it is, they were serious people, but they didn't always take themselves seriously. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jaquan, I was just speaking on, now you heard that stuttering story many times, so you knew where I was going with it.
Yeah.
But, just our parents, when I said they were serious people, but they didn't take themselves seriously, that's the truth, man. That's the God's honest truth. You know what I mean? And that was valuable. It was valuable to me because I got a chance to look at things from all sides. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man.
You still there?
I'm still here.
No, I thought you froze or something.
No, I was just looking on my phone.
Oh, I'm trying to get you to segue because
Mm-hmm.
I held it down till you came back, but I guess I gotta keep on talking. Keep on talking. Huh?
I got nothing. I usually have the whole cockeyed bully thing. That was folks' sake. That was my segment. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I need some new shit now. I got to think of something else.
Oh, look, it's about a conversation. Like the guys, I think we on Facebook we got about 3. I don't know how many people we got on YouTube because it really don't show that. But on Facebook we got 3 people watching. If you guys want to post a question, please do. We'll answer whatever. If you want to spark another conversation, that's something that you've been talking about all week. Post it. I'll put it up on the screen, and we'll take a stab at it. You know what I'm saying?
Earlier this week, man, I was earlier today. I'm sorry, not this week, but when you were asking about subject matter, what we should talk about and everything, man, the one thing that really stood out prevalent in my mind, man, was cultural appropriation.
Okay.
About how somebody that's not an African American, like a female, will have certain hairstyles or whatever, and rock it or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out what the problem is because as far as our community, the African American community, I've always said that we were innovators or whatever, but we don't mind picking up things from other cultures and making them our own. You know what I mean? Like fashion, like Tommy Hilfiger. I mean that's didn't he say that he didn't make clothes for black people? I don't know. I
No,
mean,
that was they made a documentary, and he said that was a lie.
he said it was a
You know
lie.
what I'm saying? But
Right.
it's who you want to believe. You know what I mean? And it's easy to believe it, but it's also easier not to believe it. You know what I mean? But it kind of ruined him, though. He was on top of the urban fashion. See, and that's the thing is designers don't want to be put in that urban fashion vein, right? But then hip hop became mainstream, and then he really and truly, because he always embraced them, right? Him and his brother, they always embraced hip hop because they was hip hop heads too, right? But then it became where it was an exclusive brand. Wu-Tang was part of it. That explosion. The more they became exposed, the more that he and somebody. So he said, this is his explanation. Somebody planted it in social media when social media was young, like on YouTube or whatever outlet we was using at the time. That he said he didn't make clothes for black people. You know what I mean? But it's obvious he didn't make clothes for black people because you was a white designer. You know what I'm saying? my thing is black people innovate because it's out of necessity, one thing, but also they want to be different. So they put a different spin on whatever. You feel what I'm saying? Fashion, whatever. You know what I mean? Hell, alcohol.
Everything.
They put a different spin on it. You know what I mean? And it makes these, make these companies rich. But these companies don't really owe black people anything, but black people make them rich, though. So you can easily go somewhere else and not fuck with it. You know what I mean? Like, say you like a particular brand, and this is an example. Say everybody back in the day loved E&J, right? Even though it's the cheap, it's a yak of brandy.
Brandy.
It's the cheap brandy, right? So a lot of people were drinking E&J, but E&J, if you drank too much of it, your hangover would be massive. So a lot of people like stayed away from it because of all the sugar in it. Now imagine if you had E&J and it was so popular with hip hop and everything, right? Then somebody say, well, the founder of E&J was a KKK member. And back in them days, we didn't have social media like that, but a rumor will blow it up. Now everybody's like, all right, we off E&J. Let's go to Cavassier. No, that's a yak. But whatever brandy. Let's go there.
Paul Masson and shit.
Yeah, and we blow that up because everybody loves the trend, right?
So in regards to cultural appropriation, though, man, I mean that tells a story right there. I mean, how can we be mad and upset about something that we're one of the biggest perpetuators of?
Is it because people are becoming rich off of and rich off of that trend that we set, and we're not getting anything? We're giving our money to that trend. I mean, and them people involved in that trend is getting rich off of it, and they just happen to be white.
If you take, let me see, an example. When Kim Kardashian had those braids in her hair, somebody drug her through the mud and everything. Did it affect her pocketbook in any way?
No.
She was already rich.
But you know why? You know why she renamed it, right? I think it was her and her sister. You know why she renamed it? She renamed the shit because she did that for white people. Black people already knew. Oh man, this has been around since the 70s. What are you talking about? You feel me?
Even that though, Keith. I mean,
because that's where the money is.
But the black community was pissed off with Kim Kardashian because she had taken probably her hair and braided it, right? When they're going out and buying synthetic white people hair, and braided into their hair for the same effect. So I mean that is, our hypocrisy has no fucking end, man.
But this is my point. She renamed it, right?
Yeah.
By her renaming it, she took credit for it. And she became richer because of it. So people are pissed off for the simple fact when they say call it culture vultures and different things like that. That's what people are pissed off about. It's like, yo, this has been around, but she changed, to me, my opinion, she changed the name and the concept, the spin on the concept, right? Just like with Spanx. She changed it to that spin, right?
Yeah.
For her fans. So they can pretend that she was their originator. You see what I'm saying?
You can't factor in foolishness, man. I mean,
I
I
mean,
understand what you're
people,
saying, but
people, yeah.
you get the gist of my point, man.
No,
Black,
I get it completely.
black people were mad at her for putting white lady braids in her hair when they go out and spend money on real white people hair, real non-African hair to put in their hair for the same effect.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what it did was replace wigs. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. Like black women have always worn wigs. You know, even in Africa. You know, braiding originated in Africa. Extensions originated in Africa.
I even take well, I oppose that.
No, it's the truth. That's where they got it from.
Braids did not originate in Africa, Keith.
They did.
They didn't. Braids did not originate in Africa, Keith. No, they didn't. If
Why?
they because around the same time that in ancient Africa that they were braiding hair and everything, they were braiding hair in places like Ireland and Scotland and England.
All the fuck you doing is all you doing is looking at you looking at Braveheart and thinking that,
No,
because it's in the movie.
no. In Scotland,
Come on, dog.
in Ireland and Scotland before the English came in and conquered those lands, Keith, they wore locks. They wore
Bro,
twisted locks in their hair.
the reason why I say it is this. The original man comes from the continent of Africa.
I understand.
Okay.
No, wait, before you go on, does that automatically mean that all things good came from Africa and exclusively all things good came from Africa?
No, what it means is when I said earlier that braids originated in Africa, it's the truth.
It's uninformed.
Huh?
You see, uninformed. You see me folding my arms? Africa, then how in the world does the same hair phenomenon happen thousands of miles away with with another culture that's had no contact with African culture? How does
Man,
that?
listen. First of all, it was matted. If it wasn't for the Moors going into Portugal and Spain, they would still be unclean. I contend that what you see as braids were nothing but some sticky menagerie hair stuck together, unkept and uncombed.
Okay.
So the organization of braids came from Africa.
Okay.
But look, let me ask you a question.
That was African.
Let me ask you a question, man. How important is it for us as American blacks to be connected to the countries in Africa, in your opinion?
I think it's important from an aspect of just from obviously from a historical aspect, from a medical point of view, man. I mean, tracing ancestries or whatever, why we got diabetes, why we got this, why we got got that or whatever, and as far as that research goes, it's important, from that point of view, from a what's the right word? From a societal point of view, I don't think. I think we've been here too long to identify with the problem. Our thinking just doesn't match anybody's from the continents anymore, man. The things that we see as important, are trivial to them, and vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice to have that connection, man. I'd like to, go and go to freaking Ghana and visit aunties and uncles, once, twice removed and everything, to establish that connection. But once I've done that, then what am I going to do with that? That connection,
Do you not think the connection is important
important.
to
It's important.
establish your identity?
No, no, not. I mean, not an individual identity. No, I don't think that's important at all.
Okay. I think a couple weeks ago on the show, I said I saw something on social media where it was an American black, and it was I don't know what country the brother was, but he was from the continent of Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the brother was speaking. I didn't see the whole interview. I wish I was trying to find it, right? But this segment that they showed, he said that we lost, in so many words, we lost connection
Mm-hmm.
with the because we don't know who we are, and we went through the institution of slavery. Even though people say, "Well, slavery's been around," no, Americanized slavery is a whole new different animal, right? But he said that we in this country, we had to go through that. And we have 400 years of not knowing who we are and all of this. So I'm thinking that they actually in the debate. But then he said, he looked at the brother, he said, you didn't have to go through, and this one I thought it was going to be a contentious thing. He said, you didn't have to go through what we went through, right? He said, but we didn't have to go through colonization.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to go through being colonized, the brutality that came from being colonized,
Mm-hmm.
the millions of lives that was lost because the European countries took out pieces of the continent.
Mm-hmm. The worst thing you can do, man, is get into a pissing contest, man, because as bad as
But see, I think he didn't really do that. What he did was point out that we needed to understand that both sides had trauma
mm-hmm.
that
That's
we
why I
had to
said
deal with.
you cannot get into a pissing contest in those in that regard, man, because as bad as American slavery was, American slavery was nowhere near as bad as Portuguese slavery. Nowhere near as bad as Dutch slavery. King Leopold, he fucking decimated the whole goddamn Congo for his
To
own.
make room for his subjects.
No. He didn't move. He didn't move.
I know that, but that was his excuse.
Yeah.
To establish Belgium, because Belgium was small potatoes in the European scale. So what he was doing was making room in the country so his people could grow, and plus stealing the resources.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I personally feel like like what do we owe each other, man? And I'm just throwing it out there. But what do we owe each other? Some people come from the point of view we don't owe each other nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we don't owe each other anything, I'm talking about us in this country. If we don't know each other, if we don't owe each other anything, how do we expect to? Why do we complain when we all feel as though we're being marginalized, there's racism and there's all these different things?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we will complain about it, right? But a lot of time what's echoed, and I don't think it's our whole community, but it's echoed like, hey man, I'm taking care of mine. I don't give a fuck about nobody else. You know what I mean? Because last week we kind of touched on it, And my conclusion has always been split it down the middle. You know, you got to give a little bit to your community so the community can stay together as much as possible. So when it, you know, to keep it from being fully divided, then they can come in and slaughter us. I'm just speaking in general terms when I say they can come in and slaughter. But if you're not together, it's easy to absorb you. You know what I mean?
Gold. I mean, it's a goal. Assimilation is a goal, man. I mean, when let me ask you this. Let me present it this way. Okay, there are two communities who are the largest sufferers of tribalism. That is the African American community and the Latino community. And I say that because with the prevalence of gangs in both communities, man, you know, the separation, the self separation that you know we're you know the self inflicted separation that you know we put we put on ourselves. What other community does that? You know, and all communities, no matter where you come from, have some sort of gang element, right? You know, you have Asian gangs, triads and shit. You have Irish, German, Italian gangs or whatever. What's the difference between all of those? You know, all of those different, you know, or you know, situations or whatever. The difference is the you know the amount of people who those communities allow to join the gangs, and the amount of people who the African American community and the Latino community allow to join the gangs. The numbers are crazy. You know, in term, you know, that's why I believe that tribalism is the main thing that's holding us back.
Yeah.
If it's a lot of lines you got to fill in for yourself, man.
It's a lot of layers, man.
I'm not.
I mean, we always pretend to think that it's only one thing that's holding us back. You know what I mean? Like on a lot of shows that we've done, people said one of the things, because I try to ask this all the time, you know, what is it? And people say, black folks is jealous. They haters, right? I think it was said last week. They're haters. And my thing is, what does that mean? If somebody's jealous of you and he don't have any power, and this is key, he don't have any power over changing your situation. Why do you care if this motherfucker's jealous of you?
Because he does have power over changing your situation.
How?
Because if he sees you with a certain amount of shit and money on social media and you just so happen to drop your location, he will come to your house and he will.
But that's the small percentage. That's not, dude, that's not jealousy. That is greed. That is criminality. If he come into your house to rob you, it's not because he's jealous. No, this man is looking for a victim. That's how I see it. I can't see it no other way. You know what I'm saying? That's why I put in there that if he don't have power over it, because guess what? What is the common thing? They haters. They're haters. Like the Deion Sanders thing, right? If somebody say that Coach Prime is overly flamboyant, what is the first person who going for Prime? What is he gonna say? You jealous, you a hater. No, I just maybe, and I'm not saying this is me, but I'm echoing this from people that I talk to. Maybe they don't see the way that he does things as the right way, or don't settle, because black folks are conservative, man. I don't know why people think that we are liberals at heart. We are conservatives. Our community is conservative as Chuck, man. We are. If you sit down and talk to somebody, really just talk to like your friend, you don't hear nothing but conservative shit coming out their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a freaky tale. But everybody wants to entertain when it comes to the freakiness, right? But I'm just talking about this living your life. Yo, I just want to go to work. I want to bank this money and I want to enjoy it. Is that not the prototype of conservatism?
It absolutely is. I mean, but you know, how many masters can you serve? You can
I
either
get
be
it.
conservative and at the same time, well, our brother Damon said it many times, man. It's very possible, quite possible, to be more than one thing at once. More,
Of
you know.
course. Of course.
So that being said, can you apply that to, you know, our conservatism, our conservatism, and our liberalism? Can you be both at the same time? Because a
Yeah.
lot of things,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I'll put this on the table to people, man. You know, that, the first time I heard a learned person say that, you know, it's not possible for a black person in America to be racist, I thought he was so full
Oh
of
no,
shit,
no, no.
so full of
I,
shit.
I think it's I think they were speaking on semantics when they say racist. Because
How can you?
because being racist is to be able to, like I said, it's semantics. And they used to say it all the time when we was, I'm in my 20s. I can't be racist because my people cannot put white people in subjugation.
Yeah.
We don't have the power over that, right? But now we can be biased. We can be biased towards white people. Like, look at you, man. You're weak. You're weak because you're white. How many times have you heard that or thought that growing up? You feel what I'm saying?
But how many, you know, to counter that, how many times have you seen black people, you know, walking around with the Asian eyes and bucking their teeth, you know, and talking
Yeah,
like a Chinese caricature? How
yeah.
many times have you heard that? How many times have you seen that?
And they do it because they do this shit because they don't want no motherfucker to concentrate on them.
That
I think.
they do
But
it.
but
I've witnessed it in solely in the company of solely black men. I've seen them do that, and I'm like, you know, if somebody, if it was a bunch of Asians sitting around talking about, you know, black people eating chicken and watermelon, you dudes would be up in arms.
yeah,
Why does our collective mirror only reflect in one direction?
I think you know what I think part of it is my own opinion about it. Part of it is for a long time we couldn't do nothing about it, and everybody, every ethnic community, we was every ethnic community's scratching post for a long time.
But that's the
So
part you
so
make.
when say Spanish cats, right? I'm talking about Mexican Spanish cats. Talk about black folks, the N word and they dirty, they this, they that. You take real offense to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you hear white folks and some black folks talk about Mexicans how they're not clean and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are we beating each other up? Because I'm really agreeing with what you're saying. Why are we beat each other up when we already know that the conditioning of thinking that way comes from not no conspiracy theory, not nothing. It's the fact that people who are in charge want to stay in charge. So they will grab on to black people are lazy. You know what I'm saying? Because that gives them an excuse not to hire them and to stay within their own ranks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like human beings are always looking for an excuse not to be kind to each other,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And that's a blanket statement, but honestly, if you only pay attention to the conditioning that we are subject to,
Mm-hmm.
people look for a freaking excuse not to be kind to each other. You know, it's crazy.
And another thing in the same vein, man, is many times as African Americans, man, you know, back in the '60s and '70s, and marched and got dogs and hoses turned on them and shit and everything for the sake of equality. Why is it that, you know, when somebody achieves a certain measure of equality, and we feel some kind of way about it as a community? I've said it myself, man. Like you know, like how at one point uh, women's issues and black issues were aligned, and you know the LGBTQ plus community, their issues were aligned with our issues or whatever. And in both instances, man, they you know achieved, you know, some of the shit that they wanted, right? And we didn't necessarily, things didn't necessarily happen for us like that. But there's like a bitter undertone to that, man.
You know what?
Equality means just that. It doesn't mean, you know, black people, you know, get just a little bit ahead of it, you know, everybody just because of what we've been through. Everybody, you know, everybody's had something going on. The Irish, they were picked last over the fucking blacks and the Asians when the fucking Continental Railroad was being built. Did nobody want Irish around? Have you ever heard the term Black Irish?
Look, here's the thing with me, and when it comes to the Irish and the Italians and the Polish people and anybody coming from Europe, is the fact that they when they became useful, like becoming policemen and firemen,
Mm-hmm.
now that's how you punched your white card.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought
Because
when they became those things, they became white because they were not considered white.
but see, that's the thing. The concept of color, the concept of color was here, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's this country invented, in my opinion, the concept of color to identify who's the lower class, right? But
It was the guy
coming
who.
from Europe, it is classism.
Mm-hmm.
In India, it's classism. China is classism. Korea, Asian country, fuck it. All of Europe, right? It's classism. That's how they look at each other. Like, it has nothing to do with color. That concept, to me, started here. Because our ancestors could not escape our color. So when you have elite, and I saw this one day too, when you have elite because it was black folks in power too, but the actual white folks who were who the majority who was in power, there's very few. And they needed an army. So how did they get an army to keep power? Like, hey, you can come and join the club.
Yeah.
Well, how can I join the club when you was treating me like shit before? You're white. We need you to keep them in line, the black folks in line.
Mm-hmm.
And you belong to our situation because you're white. Like, it's a funny thing. I went through this before, and I saw it recently on social media, where I had a partner that I worked with. And he really, really tried because he respected me, and he wanted me to know just how much he appreciated me. So we got in a conversation about slaves, right? And he said, and I saw this on social media too. That's why it struck me. It's funny that, damn, everybody had these kind of conversations or hear this at 1 or 2 times in their lifetime. When you have white friends, I did that because everybody's my friend if they got great character. That's just me personally, right? But he said, my family was dirt poor. He said, Chief, I can almost guarantee that my family did not own any slaves, right? Then what I saw on social media, and I got a chuckle out of it, was it was at one of those rallies or something, one of those protests, right? This man said, my family did not own any slaves. And he looked at the camera and he said, do you know how much slaves cost back then? I got a chuckle out of that.
You have any idea how much
this money? Yeah. He said, I can tell you that my family didn't own any slaves. So my buddy and I, we was talking, and I didn't really want to get into the conversation, but I became angry at him because you're trying too hard, man. You know what I mean? And I told him, we don't have to talk about this, man, because I will greet you with logic and I will hurt your feelings. Well, he got challenged by what I said, right? I take the emotion out of it, man, and put in common sense. So when he said that about his family not owning slaves and all this, I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Everybody couldn't own them. But I said, but I can almost guarantee you had a great uncle or your great grandfather or somebody, you know what you did? You was either an overseer, he was an overseer, or he was a slave catcher. He looked at me and he was quiet for 2 minutes. I wasn't trying to win the argument. I'm like, yo, you throwing this catchphrase at me, but the only reason why slaves were actually afraid before the emancipation, probably all that other horse shit, right? No disrespect when I call it horse shit, but all that other stuff, right? Only reason why they stayed on the plantation is because if they was found out, they were subject to being killed or maimed by the people, the local people in the area. And I brought it up not to win the argument, but to let him see, like, hey, man, sometimes you don't have to be the main participant, but you can, and I speak from Black people too, you can contribute to that fucked up behavior. You know what I mean?
Industry, man. It was industry. It was capitalism, man. Yeah. Capitalism works from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
You know?
The whole South, that's what they lived off of. Yeah. This is why they was getting so rich off of that, right? Because of, what the crops that they, in their mind was like, yo, we can be our own fucking country because we got all the wealth. Because you gotta think about the folks in the North was in the middle of industrializing. They weren't industrialized yet. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So the South had all the capital in the country, and they started smelling themselves. Mm-hmm. You know.
And it's been, I mean, it's as far as secession goes, man. They had so many examples, man. You know, like Caribbean, slavery in every freaking Caribbean island. They were independent of everybody, man. They didn't need shit. You know, the only difference was, cotton and sugar cane. That was the only difference. Yeah. And tobacco.
So what we're saying is, sometimes, and it really don't have to. Slavery is the example. But sometimes we as a community needs to take responsibility for where we are. This is my opinion, where we are. Now, did I say something profound? No. What I'm saying to you is, I'm speaking from the point of view that I want longevity for my sons and my grandchildren to be able to peacefully live and prosper. And the only way that can happen if our community becomes stronger. Did I say that our community should separate from it? No, you know why? Because we are American. We've been here for so long, just as long as these so-called Mayflower people. You feel what I'm saying, dog?
Mm-hmm.
We have every right, but we've been treated. And I'm not going back to slavery. We've been treated like we just hit the shores. The mentality of it. It's my opinion. And is it bad that I'm saying this? No, this is how I feel. And it has nothing to do with hatred towards somebody or anything like that. It is a common sense approach, understanding it. That's all. You know, and that's what's so funny about it. It's like, bro, Black people have been the most patriotic to this country and been getting the shitty end of the stick at the same time. No, we always try to assimilate. Think about it. No matter how harshly we've been treated, we still try to get along. Is that right? Is that wrong? I can't come to a conclusion, but what it is my observation. You know? But look, we've been on here going on an hour and a half. You might as well go, shut it down. It's been a great show. You know what I'm saying? Israel, good shouting out, man. Way to shout out. Keith Barnes, you know how we do, my guy. Appreciate it. Everybody who have been watching, appreciate y'all, right? We're going to keep going because we like to laugh and we like to have conversations. This is, I want another catchphrase to really and truly hammer down what this show is about. It's going to come to me. Jaquari, think about it too. And because I want us to start saying it, or we're going to stick to, this is an everyday people show. But I think we can do better in describing what we do. You know what I mean? So do us a favor, go to our YouTube channel, like and share and subscribe, especially subscribe so we can get into, we can build our numbers up so we can get in that algorithm and we can do what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing about it is, even though we enjoy what we do and we can keep doing this, everybody want to be famous. Everybody want to be heard. So I want the people who come on with us, I want everybody to see it. But that's pretty much what I got to say. Jaquari, you got anything to say before we shut it down, brother?
No, just I enjoyed chopping it up with you, brother. We always have a good time. Dialogue and discourse, man. That's what we're about. Dialogue and discourse. No matter what octave your voice is at, no matter how you decide to convey your convey your points. We're here for it. We're here for it. We just want to keep things positive, man, and face. That's the goal. Facing upwards.
No doubt.
I thank you for your time, brother.
Oh yeah. Much love, man. This is Big Dog 59. because 59 is the number that I've always been told that the mega abundance is going to spring out. So I'm going to keep the Lord to his word. Amen.
Amen.
This is Strong Perspective Podcast. Until next week, be safe and good night.
Peace.